Here I am going to show how I shade an acrylic barn that I painted for someone. So I have, all the sides of the barn are the same shade at this point. And I have a blending medium that I like to use. You can buy some from a paint store, or you can get some from Lowe's, what they use for glazing and mixing. It slows down the drying time. So my sun is coming, the light is coming from the left top of the canvas, so I'm shading the whole right side of the building completely with this glaze of Payne's gray over what I painted earlier, and then shading the grass. I don't go ahead and paint darker shades of the same color because they're not the same. Mixing white and black together makes a gray, but when you want to shade the white and you glaze Payne's gray over it, which is basically black, it doesn't look the same as gray. It looks like a shaded white. So that's why I like to paint them all the same color to begin with and then add my shading. So here I'm going in and shading. The sun is casting the shadows to the right and underneath, and I'm using my photo reference to know where the shading should go. And you see my handy dandy paint brush holder is my mouth. Oftentimes I'm switching between 2 or 3 brushes, and I keep one of them in my mouth. Probably a bad habit, but these are my paint brushes, so I can do that. It's just magical when you add the shadows, and it goes from something cartoony to something three-dimensional with depth in it. Notice I am working, other than doing that first right side of the barn, I am working from the left to the right because I am right-handed, and I want to be able to lay my hands down to control my brush. I can't do that if you don't start at the left of the canvas and work your way over. I shaded the whole right side of the barn first because I knew my hand would be far away from it and give it plenty of time to dry. It was so far away from where I would need to work, and because I'm going to have to go back and do more layers on the shadow side of the barn. So here I'm adding, underneath the eaves, underneath each of the boards in the barn doors, a little bit down at the base of the building to help it be firmly secured on the ground. And then I go back to the right side, the shadow side of the barn, and add more shadows there. Sometimes you have to layer the shadows. Sorry, the camera didn't catch the top part. And then I decided to add some shadows onto the asphalt too. The more layers you can do on asphalt, the more interesting it makes it look, like it had just rained instead of just plain gray. I always like to do layers there. And that is how I